This is an absolute train wreck, and I'm loving every single minute of it. I just got done with the first 2 episodes of Life with an Ordinary Guy Who Reincarnated into a Totally Fantasy Knockout. Yes, that's the title. Fantasy Bishoujo Juniku Ojisan to. This is a series that is airing in the winter 2022 anime season. And again, like I said before, absolutely thrilled that it's turning out good, despite the fact that I still have that hesitation that it might get repetitive, but that's what I'm going to get into with my first impressions on this series, so let's jump into it. Totally Fantasy Knockout, I'm just going to call it that from now on because it's just a really weird title. Essentially opens up with 2 childhood friends who are now 32 years old. You have essentially one of the guys, Tachibana, is very normal. He's just very standard guy. Most would put him as he's not terrible at the same time. He's not, good looking or anything. He's just very standard. At the same time, his childhood friend, Jinjuji, is a knockout. He's just this guy that is super hot. All the girls fawn over him. And so the goofy thing they're kind of establishing really early is that while Junjuji basically really likes being around Tachibana because Tachibana is like his oasis, he's not comfortable around women. Women just fawn over him, but he's always at his best when he's just with his friend. This is this guy that he's always been with. This is the guy that makes him feel comfortable. And so he never kind of wants to lose to this guy. It mentions the idea that he never wants this guy to find a girl because he just wants to hang out with this guy. He feels very comfortable around him. On the other end, Tachibana really hates being around him because this is the guy that gets all the women. And so he can never find a girl. He's like, I want to get this guy married so then I can finally find somebody because every time I go to meet somebody, they always look at him. And that's his problem that he's facing. And so one night, after they get done drinking, Tachibana is just flat on the ground, whining about his entire existence. And at some point, he mentions something like he just really wishes that he was just this really hot girl. And so I guess the idea that if you can't get with a hot girl, just be the hot girl. And he's talking about this perfection of a girl that he wants to be, that everybody will fawn over. At the same time, Jinjuji is like, I just want to get this guy home. If I had one wish, I just want to get this dude home. And sure enough, this goddess of love and beauty just pops up out of nowhere. And Junjuji quickly starts making fun of her, saying that she's the LED goddess or something like that because she's got this halo. But essentially, she pulls them both into this other world. Well, first she says, is he dead? Is Tachibana dead? Oh, is he not? I guess I'll just kill him and then that'll work. And so she shoots a big, huge arrow. And the 2 of them are transported into this other world, this fantasy world. And this is where the goddess of love and beauty, kind of being a little insulted by Junjunji, is like, I'm gonna just do whatever I want to do, and essentially rebirths Tachibana as this ideal girl. At the same time, brings Junjunji here to be with him. And it turns this whole thing where she kind of wants to force them to have this fantasy world living and go defeat this demon lord, but at the same time curses them to force them to have to do this. And it kind of turns this whole thing where they're trying to figure out exactly what that curse is, and you kind of find out what those curses are, and it's really just this attraction that's kind of between the 2 of them. As we find out that Jinjuji, who never really looks at girls, has never really had an attraction to women, again, technically had this fear of them or an insecurity about them, now suddenly looks at Tachibana and is like, here's this guy that's my oasis, and now he's this really cute girl. And so suddenly there's an attraction there. And the same way from Tachibana, now that he's this girl, and again, we speculate it's this curse, looks at Jinjunji as like, whoa, this is this guy that's really reliable. And he for some reason, suddenly looks very sharp and handsome. And wait, no, so that's what's created is this insecurity the 2 of them have, is they constantly are falling into this charm trap, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what these feelings are and how to deal with it. At the same time, really kind of wondering if the other one is dealing with the same thing, but they don't want to say because they don't want to, they don't want to be weird around their friend that they've been around for technically 25 years of their life. And so they figure their only way they're going to get over this is just do what the goddess wanted them to do. Go defeat this demon lord. Let's just get this mission done with, get rid of this curse, and hopefully, again, technically get back his old body and go back to their normal life. And so they travel around, eventually run into this big monstrous bear, and while trying to protect Tachibana, Junjuji essentially one punches him. One punch kills the thing. Then they go to a town where there's bandits attacking, and suddenly they're all the bandits suddenly stop and start fighting over who's going to get Tachibana because he's got this aura about him that makes him just extremely desirable. And so they're all fighting over who's going to marry Tachibana, and they start killing each other. And then eventually kind of going on from there to getting this other bandit camp, and that's kind of where they're leaving it so far. So, yeah. Really, really goofy show. Let's just put that out there. Just not really holding anything back. This is pretty much going in the realms of a full-on comedy spoof to isekai types of show. So something more in the vein of something like Konosuba, where you, again, not technically in the realms of quality we're talking here. I mean, Konosuba is legendary, but same vein of that, where it's the idea of a screwed up isekai where things aren't really going the way that your typical isekais go, where you get isekai, you get harem, you fight big bosses with super OP abilities. No, this is kind of more of a, okay, what did you reincarnate me as? Why do we have these feelings with each other? Why is this happening to us? This curse is ruining us. And again, what kind of effects they have on the world itself because of what they are and how they just break the systems. And that's really where a lot of the fun's coming at. And yeah, technically with the first 2 episodes, a lot of the comedy is really centered around those feelings the two of them have and how they're fighting those feelings. But at the same time, it's really kind of trying to keep it fresh as it takes it from different vantage points as it goes along. So it never, so far, has not quite got old. But at the same time, I do honestly have a fear that will it get old? That's the big fear that I have. Is like, okay, you opened up, and that was exactly what I was saying technically with our preview of this show was, okay, here's a cool idea, cool concept here. Guy gets, transported into the body of a girl, and the other guy is his own normal self, and there's that tension between the two of them, but what are we going to do with it? And so far, it's doing a pretty good job of just really kind of introducing obstacles in front of them, and how they handle it with that is really where it's kind of turning into so far. Like having with the first encounter, he's technically princess carrying Tachibana, and then eventually stands up to the beast and one-punches it. And then going into the bandits, where it's more of a thing of the first encounter is them fighting over Tachibana, where the second encounter is Junjuji basically becoming charmed and just throwing everybody, trying to keep them away from Tachibana. So again, it's introducing different obstacles and in handling it in different ways depending on the bit that it's going with. And I do think that's where it's kind of keeping it fresh so far. I am a little bit sad that the goddess of love and beauty disappeared as fast as she did, because of course one of my, big hypes for this show was the fact that it's Rikujimiya, and definitely you felt that Rikujimiya come out when she essentially gets really mad and just essentially curses them and just says, bye, I'm out of here, screw you guys. And I'm like, oh great, there's the Rikujimiya that I wanted, but now she's gone, and she literally hasn't been in the show for like an episode and a half. So I really do hope they bring her back into the picture because of how super snarky she was, and how technically for the reasons because she was insulted, but I really hope they bring her back in the picture because I think she's gold. She's comedy gold. I do like that despite the fact that they have these overpowered abilities and they're kind of looking at those overpowered abilities as to what they can do, there's always like these really dumb twists to them. Like there was this whole aspect of, well, why is Tachibana a girl? Well, because he wished that he could become this ideal girl, so the goddess granted it. Well, then they look back at Junjinji, like, well, what did you wish for? Oh, I remember saying something about, I want to get you home. And so his secret ability is that he can create a door that will take Tachibana home. And it's exactly how Tachibana left it. So he has like no food in there. So again, it's taken the idea of having overpowered abilities that were granted to you by the goddess, and she thinks that they were something you really badly wanted. So she technically did grant their wishes. It's just their wishes at the time, really crappy wishes. So I really do like that aspect, and I hope they play a little bit more off of that. They do have like this whole stat screen and everything, and they're really playing off of how they're built up. And again, technically the irresistible Tachibana and the I want to get him home Junjunji. It's just a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to more of this series. I know that based on the OP, they have what looks like a Kirito knockoff character, and I'm really curious to see what they do with that character. But just everything so far is pointing at this could be a really fun series, a really refreshing isekai parody type of show. I really do hope that there's plenty of really good ideas here that they can keep evolving this concept as it goes along, not just, get stale in the idea of these two just constantly doki-doking at each other and not wanting to. I think it'll get really old really quick if that just becomes a focus all the time. But I don't blame Junjuji. Because, yeah, they kind of play a lot heavy on the idea of Tachibana just being completely irresistible. Just these moments where, like, his shirt's, like, slightly opened up, so Jinjuji just throws him, like, cover yourself up. What the hell are you doing? A lot of fun. Really enjoying it. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on Life with an Ordinary Guy who reincarnated into a totally fantasy knockout. Really enjoying the series so far. Looking forward to more. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below and comment. Let me know what you thought of the series or if you're going to check it out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon or throw a tips link in the description below. Definitely appreciate everybody does. And y'all take care.